forces acting against ISIS in Iraq be under the control of the central Iraqi government. That is the principle that we certainly adhere to, and that's the principle that the Prime Minister has. Therefore, to get to your point about Shiite militias, there are Shiite militias that have that characteristic, and there are those that don't. And the Prime Minister made it quite clear that the latter, that is, ones that were not under his command and control, were not welcome there, would not participate in their operations, and would not be supported, and they certainly won't be supported by us. We support forces that are under the command and control of the Iraqi government, irrespective of their sectarian makeup, which is the whole point. The way things got the way they did in Iraq is the collapse of a multi-sectarian approach. And what Prime Minister Abadi is trying to do in his own government is to create a fight against ISIL that consists of Shia forces, Sunni forces, and Kurdish forces in sectarian makeup, but all under the control of the government in Iraq. And it is those forces, and only those forces, that we will provide support to.
Julian Barnes.
Mr. Secretary, do you think it's time for Saudi Arabia to consider winding down its airstrikes? Could further airstrikes risk destabilizing or prompting a wider role? And General Dempsey, your Russian counterpart today talked about targeting NATO missile defense systems. The Russian defense minister talked about U.S. exercises on tactical nuclear weapons. How worried are you about stepped-up rhetoric by Russia, and how worried are you about aggressive acts like the air intercept last week?
Well, to get to your first point, we're assisting the Saudis to protect their own territory and to conduct operations that are designed to lead ultimately to a political settlement to Yemen. And that is our understanding and our objective. That's why we're working so closely with the Saudis. As Chairman indicated, General Austin's been in Riyadh earlier today. We're coordinating very closely with them, both on the military objectives and on the political objective.
So, Julian, on the issue of Russian rhetoric about the missile defense system, this goes back a very long time, and we have channels that remain active in getting together with the Russians and laying out the intentions, the capabilities of the air defense system as a way of trying to assure them that that is not being built against them. And we've done this for several years. Most of the time we agree to disagree, but the rhetoric is unsurprising, I suppose I would say, and those channels remain open, as they do for dealing with things like unprofessional or reckless intercepts. And this intercept was, in fact, both unprofessional and reckless and foolish, actually, in the sense that it was conducted for no apparent reason. And so what we're doing is contacting the Russians through appropriate channels to ask them to investigate the incident and determine whether it was purposeful or if it was an isolated instance by a hot-blooded pilot. But it's serious.
You don't have the answer yet.
I don't.
Jim?
For Chairman Dempsey, you mentioned a moment ago that with the coalition concentration into the military offensive in the north, it almost sounds as if there may be insufficient forces or resources to keep Ramadi from falling. How critical would it be if it fell into the hands of ISIS to the overall war effort? And in terms of Beiji, it appears anyway that ISIS controls the city of Beiji and much of the surrounding territory surrounding that critical infrastructure of that refinery. And they've made advances on that. Are the Iraqi and U.S. forces, coalition forces, going to be able to hang on to the refinery? Or what would that mean if ISIS were able to secure that refinery?
So I'll answer the question about Ramadi first. I think that, Ramadi is not, first of all, it's already a humanitarian problem because of the Iraqi citizens who are now refugees, many of whom have flowed into Baghdad. And so we're working with the Iraqi government to ensure we deal with that. The city itself is, it's not symbolic in any way. It's not been declared, part of the caliphate on one hand or central to the future of Iraq. But we want to get it back. I mean, the issue here is not brick and mortar. It's about defeating ISIL. So, as I said, I would much rather that Ramadi not fall, but it won't be the end of a campaign. Should it fall, we got to get it back. And that's tragic for the people, as we've seen along the way. Beiji is a little different, of course. Beiji is part of the Iraqi oil infrastructure. Once the Iraqis have full control of Beiji, they will control all of their oil infrastructure, both north and south, and deny ISIL the ability to generate revenue through oil. So Beiji is a more strategic target, and that's why the focus right now is, in fact, on Beiji.
And how serious is the ISIL threat to the refinery right now?
Well, it's serious in the sense that they've penetrated the outer perimeter. You've been there, I think. It's an extraordinarily large, expansive facility. The refinery itself is at no risk right now, but and we're focusing a lot of our ISR and air support there.
Go to Craig Whitlock, and then probably one question after that. A follow-up question on Iraq. I wanted to ask you about the proximity of U.S. military personnel to the fighting, and if that has changed at all in recent days or weeks. Were there any U.S. military controllers or JTACs or people calling in strikes in Tikrit? And has the U.S. offered to do that in Ramadi?
First of all, with respect to Tikrit, and this is actually true, the more general answer to your question, our troops that are there are in the locations that we've previously identified, where they're there for train, advise, and assist. There are not JTACs embedded with Iraqi security forces, and there were not in Tikrit. We're still able to be effective in providing air support to Iraqi forces because we do have Americans in their command centers and practiced the methods by which we would ensure that the targets that were given to us were valid targets, did everything that we usually do to ensure that there is no collateral damage, or that collateral damage is minimized. So we're going through all the steps that we normally do to ensure that airstrikes can be both effective and precise. But we're not using our own forward forward controllers to do that in Tikrit or anywhere else in Iraq. That hasn't changed.
Last question, Nancy Houston.
Mr. Secretary.
My question is for you, General Dempsey. Prime Minister Abadi came out today at CSIS and said that Tikrit was a model. Is that your assessment, given that there have been reports of looting and executions happening in Tikrit? And I was wondering if you could speak, both of you, a little bit more broadly about what is the strategic threat that is posed in Yemen such that it demands the U.S. provide intelligence to Saudi Arabia? What is the U.S. strategic interest in that fight in Yemen?
I'll start with the question about whether Tikrit was a model. So as a model of how to integrate the efforts of the counter-terrorist system, the CTS, Iraqi Security Force CTS, a conventional brigade, and that part of the popular mobilization forces that are under direct control of the Iraqi government, it is a model in that sense, because it's the first time those three groups ever worked together under the central control of the Ministry of Defense, and we were able to support that and provide the necessary fires to let that campaign reach a successful conclusion. We've watched and are continuing to watch the reports of whether there were looting or burning or atrocities conducted afterwards. Although we've seen some images, and the investigation is ongoing, collaboratively with the Iraqi government. There is no evidence of widespread activity. There was likely to be some isolated instances. We've actually got a long history of being able to deal with this. The Leahy Amendment tells us that we can support those forces that behave in a way consistent with our values, and when a particular unit does not, we isolate it and we no longer support it. So if this investigation reveals that a particular part of either the Iraqi security forces or the Popular Mobilization Force did not behave appropriately, we won't support it going forward.
I'm sorry, who's conducting those investigations?
Well, the Iraqi government, Prime Minister Abadi himself declared that he was taking responsibility for that investigation.
And when you say isolated incidents, can you give us a sense of how many were involved, and the specific?
I can't from memory. I mean, there was a certain village south of Tikrit where there was evidence of buildings that had been scorched on the outside, the masonry. In some cases, that was probably as a result of the fighting, and in others, it probably was, in fact, a result of misbehavior. But they're trying to sort that out. Not so much in Tikrit, by the way.
There was a strategic...
And I'm sorry, Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia, and why? Can you explain? I'm curious if you could elaborate on the U.S. strategic interest in providing intelligence to Saudi Arabia against the Houthis.
Yes, sir.
I can do that. Two things there. I mean, first of all, Saudi Arabia is a long-standing friend and ally of ours, and we have undertaken to help them protect themselves and their own border and so forth. And that's a long-standing, in accordance with a long-standing obligation and friendship that we have with them. With respect to events in Yemen, we are supporting their operations in Yemen in the way I described earlier. The objective there is to restore a political process there in which a legitimate government can be established in Yemen and things can settle down there. That's good for the people of Yemen, first and foremost. It's good for Saudi Arabia, that doesn't need this on its southern border. And as the earlier questions indicated, it's good for us, among other reasons, because of AQAP's presence in Yemen. But for that to occur, it'll require more than military action. It'll require a political settlement, and that in turn is going to require the Houthis to want to pursue a political settlement as well.
Given that, then, did the U.S. agree with the decision by Saudi Arabia to conduct airstrikes in the first place?
We supported that. We're not only supporting that verbally, we're supporting that with assistance, and again, en route to a political settlement. That's where things need to go. And by the way, I had an opportunity to speak to Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, about precisely that today. So that's where we would like to see this thing headed for everybody's sake.
That concludes our press conference. Thank you very much. We look forward to doing the next one.
All right, there you go. It's a wrap. The very first press conference for Secretary of Defense Ash Carter, seated alongside the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey. I have Brigadier General Mark Kemet with me to discuss. I've got Kim Dozier, CNN Global Affairs analyst, and hopefully momentarily we will be able to see Arwa Damon, our CNN senior international correspondent in Baghdad, to speak a little bit to the news about Ramadi. But Kim Dozier, let me just go to you first. I mean, really, it seemed to me the headlines, the discussion surrounding, obviously, ISIS in Iraq. They had met with both the defense minister and the prime minister of Iraq just yesterday, and we heard a little bit of what those meetings entailed. But to you, what about Yemen? A lot of questions about the Saudi Arabia air campaign, the U.S., friendship with Saudi Arabia, the threat of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. That was what our own Jim Sciutto was asking about. What was the headline for all of that for you?
Well, what I found interesting was when they talked about striking al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula targets, and Ash Carter went on at some length about how, yes, it is preferable to have a stable government on the ground to work with to fight against terrorists. But if you don't
Which it
have
doesn't exist right now.
He said we have other means, and essentially we are using them. Only this past week, al-Qaeda announced that one of its senior leaders had been hit by a U.S. drone strike, showing that although there aren't U.S. fusion centers or special operations forces on the ground, they've obviously maintained some sort of intelligence network, probably mostly by sucking up signals intelligence, cell phones, radio transmissions, but you got to have some human intelligence as well to guide a drone strike to a target. So that was the big headline for me, other than also a sort of a backing away from talking about how long this conflict might go on the ground, and very careful treatment of ally Saudi Arabia. They don't want to get caught in a public dispute saying that they disagree in any way with the strikes that Saudi Arabia is carrying out.
General Kemet, to you, let's talk about Iraq, because we've talked quite a bit about, Iraqi military retaking Tikrit, which is Saddam Hussein's hometown, and that's also on the road to Mosul and perhaps the retaking of Mosul in some months. But really the focus has been on Ramadi, and I thought it was interesting, specifically listening to General Dempsey, and he was sort of saying Ramadi doesn't have real significance. He was pointing toward this town of Beji and talking about the oil refineries there and how that would really be significant if ISIS grabs that city.
I think he's right. Ramadi has somewhat of an iconic value because of the number of battles that we fought in Ramadi and Fallujah over the years. But it is not a strategic location. As General Dempsey said, it is bricks and mortars. Beji by
what does he mean by that, by the way?
Well, what he means is that it's a city. It's just buildings. Now, as he noted, it has a lot of people that live there, but it's not a strategic location. Winning Ramadi is not going to change the tide of battle. It's unfortunate what's happening to the civilians, and it gets them a little bit closer to Baghdad, but it really doesn't change the nature of the battle. Strategically, though, Beji, with its oil refinery, which is responsible for a significant output of the Iraqi oil, that's a strategic target that, if taken by ISIL, and there's a little chance it will happen, but that would cut oil production significantly in a country that's already suffering from low oil prices. So the amount of oil that they're pumping and the price they get for that is reduced even more, and it'll have an impact on the military and on the civilians inside of Iraq.
I want to continue the conversation. I see Arwa Damon now. She's popped up live in Baghdad. But Jim Sciutto, I have to go to you because you were in the briefing. You asked those two questions specifically about the threat of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula of the Secretary of Defense, and also asking about Russia. But on the note of AQAP and the threat to U.S. homeland, what did you make of his response?
I have to tell you, Brooke, this was a pretty stark, sobering press conference on a number of challenges, including Yemen, AQAP in Yemen, but on Iraq, on Russia, all these things on the agenda of the Obama administration and the Defense Department today. But let's talk about Yemen. You cannot deny the loss of U.S. presence there. There were special forces on the ground. They are no longer there. You had an embassy there, which of course is a diplomatic function, but it's also an intelligence gathering function. That is now closed down, and many of those intelligence gathering assets are gone. There are still some there. They carried out a airstrike earlier in this week, a drone strike rather, so they still have some capabilities. And as you heard from the new defense secretary saying, yes, we have other means, but granting that this is far from ideal, and that invariably leads to a greater counter-terror threat from this area. And that's something I've been hearing from counter-terror officials as well. That's a real concern because AQAP is not some distant problem. This is a terror group that's trying to get bombs onto airplanes, targeting Americans, including airplanes coming to the U.S. And when you lose that pressure, that has a measurable effect. I think that's sobering. The other thing I would note, Brooke, is just looking at Iraq, you had General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in effect saying that Ramadi may indeed fall. He said that, we'd like to win it back. It is not strategically important. But I have to say, what that reminds me of, you remember the town of Kobani on the Turkish border in Syria, which at the time, early on, when ISIS was gaining ground there, you would hear from administration officials and defense officials, that's not strategically important. Then it became the focus of the air campaign because it was decided that ISIS thought it was important. Clearly, ISIS thinks Ramadi is important. They've been assaulting the city for months, and it looks like they're going to get the best of Iraqi security forces, even if it is not strategically important. It doesn't have a big oil refinery like Beji. It's 70 miles from Baghdad. It's the largest city in western Iraq. I mean, it's hard to say that losing it means nothing, you know, and it also shows, beyond losing the ground there, it shows the capability of ISIS to gain territory still, and it shows the lack of capability of Iraqi security forces to hold off ISIS when they put a sustained assault. I think, you know, it's hard to say that's just something we don't have to worry about when you look at the number of resources that ISIS has been throwing that way.
I am so glad you brought up Kobani because we covered that for weeks and weeks and weeks. You are absolutely correct. And this notion, Arwa Damon, that Ramadi would mean nothing, that it was merely brick and mortar, as we heard from General Dempsey. You have talked to, you know, family members who have been forced to flee Ramadi. You've gotten as close as you possibly can. I imagine they would tell a different story.
They would, Brooke, just like the population in Kobani was absolutely shocked to hear the U.S. at the time say that it was not their strategy, their aim to save the population of Kobani. The people of Ramadi, and in fact of this entire country, would be quite dismayed to hear a city of some 300,000 plus people be described as brick and mortar. But if we were to put that aside just for a moment and speak about Ramadi in strategic terms, it is located on the highway that ties Baghdad to Jordan. This is a very vital highway when it comes to importing and exporting produce and goods between the two countries. The lack of Iraqi government control around Ramadi has created a lot of other difficulties and challenges when it comes to moving towards other areas of Al-Anbar province that are under ISIS control. The entire terrain around Ramadi is a patchwork of different front lines and battle zones. And historically speaking, Ramadi was the old capital of what was then Al-Qaeda's empire, the predecessor to the Islamic State. So to go back to Jim's point, it may not seem to be strategic, but it is significant and it is important. And losing Ramadi is going to be, if it does happen, a big blow to the Iraqi government and to the Iraqi security forces, because it is the capital of the country's Sunni heartland, Al-Anbar province. And if the Iraqi government and the U.S.-led coalition are not going to be putting in the effort to try to help save Ramadi, what kind of a message is that going to send at this critical point to the country's Sunni population whose support the Shia-led government in Baghdad has to have if it's going to defeat ISIS?
Arwa Damon,
if I could just
echo, quickly, Jim, go ahead.
Just on, because it also gets to a point that the Defense Secretary made. The Iraqi government has to be more inclusive. The military effort has to be more inclusive. That's about getting the Sunnis involved. You lose the Sunni capital in western Iraq, that's a loss.
Jim Sciutto, Kim Dozier, General Mark Kemet, and Arwa Damon, thank you to all four of you very much. Still ahead here on CNN, just 24 hours after handing down that guilty verdict. Today, the jurors in the Aaron Hernandez murder trial are speaking exclusively to Anderson Cooper, and they're elaborating as far as how they reached that decision. Anderson joins me next for a preview, and wait until you hear what these jurors told him. Back in 90 seconds.
Koch Industries started in the heartland, and we've expanded to nearly every state. Today, that's more than 60,000 American jobs. You may not always see our name on the products you use, but we help make better food, clothing, shelter, technologies, and other necessities. Here, we build on each other's ideas to create more opportunities for people everywhere. Together, we are Koch.
When you invest your retirement in the stock market, your money can go up, then down. And with many annuities, your income has no chance of increasing. But with JD Signature Annuity Strategies from JD Malberg, you can get more guaranteed increasing income for life, up to 33% more.
There's a locked-in guarantee on the income payout. It can never go below that. It can only increase.
Working with top-rated insurance carriers, we specially design higher income annuity strategies for increasing guaranteed income that could even double. So don't wait. Call 800-479-4008 and learn ways to help maximize your retirement income in this free JD Malberg Signature Annuity Strategies Guide. You'll also receive our exclusive report on the 7 mistakes retirees can't afford to make in 2015. And the first 100 callers get this free DVD. Maximize your retirement and Social Security income. Little known strategies revealed. Don't miss out. Call now. 800-479-4008.
You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. Just one day after convicting former New England Patriots star Aaron Hernandez on first-degree murder, the entire jury is speaking out exclusively to my colleague here at CNN, Anderson Cooper. You know the story. They deliberated for more than 35 hours over the course of 7 days before deciding Aaron Hernandez was guilty of killing his friend Odin Lloyd nearly 2 years ago. And Anderson is back with speaking with those jurors. And what did they tell you?
You know, they were very conscientious. They took this very seriously. They deliberated for a long time, as you know. A lot of people thought maybe it would be a hung jury, but they said, look, there was a lot of evidence to go through, a lot of witness testimony to go through. A lot of them had copious notes, books full of notes that they had been keeping over the last several weeks. And so they clearly are very united in their opinion that they made the right decision. And in particular, in order to get first-degree murder, they either had to believe that this was a premeditated act by Aaron Hernandez or that there was extreme cruelty. And they all agreed there was extreme cruelty. And I asked them how they came to that decision. Watch. So it wasn't premeditation. You can't say this was a premeditated
act. I can't say with 100% certainty that he premeditated that while I was sitting in that jury room. I can't say that.
But you do see extreme atrocity or cruelty.
I see extreme atrocity and cruelty.
Was it the number of shots?
It was his indifference. And that was part of what I had to look at. And it was, even if there was no premeditation, he could have made choices there when he was there. He was there, they admitted that. And he could have made different choices, and he chose not to.
I think one thing in that regard that surprised a lot of us was that indifference. And we watched the video footage at his home later in the morning or early afternoon after the incident occurred. And he was just lounging around by the pool and playing with the baby and just going about his regular life. I mean, you know, for us to have knowledge that he was there at the time that his close friend was murdered, personally, there's no way I could just carry on hours later like nothing ever happened. That's indifference.
So those videotapes, in particular his own security camera tapes, were crucial to you.
Hours later.
Yeah.
Hours later.
But in the instructions, we weren't asked to use that after the murder to weigh our decision, to leave your friend on the ground. Knowing that he's not there anymore. He's either dead or he's going to die. That's indifference. He didn't need to pull the trigger. He could have made different choices when that man was lying there.
Were there other signs to you of extreme cruelty? Or
for me, it was... Somebody had mentioned that, well, it was a gun. So for me, trying to think about extreme cruelty, what are we talking about? Are we talking about somebody physically cutting off someone's arm and letting them bleed to death? Is that extreme cruelty? Or is it the fact that, for me, it was a gun? You took a weapon, it didn't matter. You shot him once, but you kept going and you shot him 6 times. There's just no need for that. And there's no need to use the gun, period. No need to use the gun. So for me, on my personally, it was about the gun. It was about taking that weapon, knowing what you're going to do, and shooting somebody and killing them. That's pretty cruel.
One shot was enough for me. There was no need for the other 5. One shot for me is cruelty. Anybody who can pick up a gun, point it to someone and shoot them is cruelty.
And it didn't have to be him. It didn't.
Right.
It didn't
have to be him.
do you feel like he did pull the trigger, or do you don't?
I don't know. There's no evidence to support that he pulled the trigger, but he chose not to do anything about it. And
in
he's
that
the one
moment
that had the
or in the
relation.
aftermath?
Exactly. In that moment is what I was looking at, because that's what I was instructed to do in that moment.
He played a role.
Yeah.
Whether he was the shooter or the transport, he played a role in that murder, and that's what he was charged with.
And they believe that clearly not only did he play a role, but he was really the ringleader in that group that night.
Interesting hearing the word indifference used multiple times, and the notion of one shot is cruelty enough. We'll definitely be watching for your entire interview with all these jurors this evening. Anderson, thank you so much. Of course, Anderson Cooper, 360, 8 o'clock Eastern here on CNN. Do not miss that. Coming up next, the training for a reserve deputy being called into question days after he killed a man when he grabbed his gun instead of his taser. Now a newspaper report says his training records were falsified. Plus, stunning video shows a police car hitting a man who'd been firing this rifle in the air. The gunman survived, and now a previous lawsuit this officer faces coming up again. That's next.
I can do anything.
The bed reacts to your body. It hugs you.
It's really cool to the touch. The zip's off so I can wash it. Yes, please.
Visit your local retailer and feel the Tempur-Pedic difference for yourself.
Joseph A. Bank presents Your Choice, Your Savings. Sport coats, pants, polos, shorts, and more. Purchase one item and receive 2 free. Plus, all traveler shirts are 3 for $99 through Tuesday. Joseph A. Bank, the new tradition since 1905.
19 years ago, we thought, wow, how is there no way to tell the good from the bad? So we gave people the power of the review. And now Angie's List is revolutionizing local service again. You can easily buy and schedule services from top-rated providers. Conveniently stay up to date on progress and effortlessly turn your photos into finished projects with our Angie's List app. Visit angieslist.com today.
The pursuit of healthier. It begins from the second we're born. After all, healthier doesn't happen all by itself. It needs to be earned every day, from the smallest detail to the boldest leap. Healthier means using wellness to keep away illness, knowing a prescription is way more than the pills, and believing that a single life can be made better by millions of others. Healthier takes somebody who can power modern healthcare by connecting every single part of it, realizing cold, hard data can inspire warmth and compassion, and that when technology meets expertise, everything is possible. For as long as the world keeps on searching for healthier, we're here to make healthier happen. Optum. Healthier is here.
If you struggle with type 2 diabetes, you're certainly not alone. Fortunately, many have found a different kind of medicine that lowers blood sugar. Imagine what it would be like to love your numbers. Discover once daily Invokana. It's the #1 prescribed in the newest class of medicines that work with the kidneys to lower A1C. Invokana is used along with diet and exercise to significantly lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. It's a once daily pill that works around the clock. Here's how. The kidneys allow sugar to be absorbed back into the body. Invokana reduces the amount of sugar allowed back in and sends some sugar out through the process of urination. And while it's not for weight loss, it may help you lose weight. Invokana can cause important side effects, including dehydration, which may cause you to feel dizzy, faint, lightheaded, or weak, especially when you stand up. Other side effects may include kidney problems, genital yeast infections, urinary tract infections, changes in urination, high potassium in the blood, or increases in cholesterol. Do not take Invokana if you have severe kidney problems or are on dialysis. Medicines that work with the kidneys to lower A1C. Invokana is used along with diet and exercise to significantly lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. It's a once daily pill that works around the clock. Here's how. The kidneys allow sugar to be absorbed back into the body. Invokana reduces the amount of sugar allowed back in and sends some sugar out through the process of urination. And while it's not for weight loss, it may help you lose weight. Invokana can cause important side effects, including dehydration, which may cause you to feel dizzy, faint, lightheaded, or weak, especially when you stand up. Other side effects may include kidney problems, genital yeast infections, urinary tract infections, changes in urination, high potassium in the blood, or increases in cholesterol. Do not take Invokana if you have severe kidney problems or are on dialysis. Stop taking and call your doctor right away if you experience symptoms such as rash, swelling, or difficulty breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about any medical conditions, medications you are taking, and if you have kidney or liver problems. Using Invokana with the sulfonylurea or insulin may increase risk of low blood sugar. It's time. Lower your blood sugar with Invokana. Imagine loving your numbers. There's only one Invokana. Ask your doctor about it by name.
Closed captioning brought to you by ChristianMingle.com. Find God's match for you.
Find that one special person who makes you stronger, better.
Find the person you were meant to find.
Join ChristianMingle.com today.
It's easy and free.
Past the bottom of the hour, you're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. That volunteer deputy, that reserve deputy, a police officer who calls himself RoboCop. This is the officer, and a reminder here, this is the officer who ran down a suspect with his cruiser. It's tough to watch the video. The first part is from the perspective of the dash cam of that first responding officer who sees the suspect walking along with this recently stolen rifle. He's got it up, waving it in the air. Second part of the video from the dash cam of another officer who makes the move to take down the suspect. Here it is.
1U1 PT7. Okay, never mind. Arizona Pavilion. Alright, one round just went out into the sky. It's definitely unlocked now. Stand off, stand off. The gun is loaded. Unit on Latero Farm. Stay off. Strike, man down.
Police in Arizona, they're defending the actions of that police officer. Miguel Marquez has been working this one because specifically the officer who is now in Arizona was once here in New York, and there was a lawsuit involving him here. Tell me about that.
It was in October of 2006. He pulled over a family in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, about 8:30 at night on October 6th. This man eventually went on to claim that Officer Rapinko choked him, handcuffed him, pointed a gun at him. They settled some years later. Rapinko was in the New York Police Department from 03 to 06. NYPD says he left of his own accord. There was nothing untoward in his record. And in this particular case, the city eventually settled for $20,000 to the person who brought the suit, plus lawyer fees, which is a fairly small amount for New York City. And it's not very clear what exactly all of this related to. It appears as though the person eventually dropped all of his claims against the city when all of the charges against him were dropped.
As far as bringing it to current day, and this officer in Arizona, I was talking to the police chief just the other day, and he was welcoming the criticisms and sort of looking into it, obviously. But he's still an active duty officer, correct? I mean, they're standing by.
Still an active duty officer, and Marana PD says that they are going to have something soon on whether or not they knew about this incident in New York. They do say that he has no issues with Marana PD. Tucson PD, where he was previously to Marana, says he has no issues, no criminal record with Tucson PD, but they're also looking through his records to see and if there were any civilian complaints there. He was an avid fitness buff. He was known as RoboCop because he would work out. That was his CrossFit profile, and he even won an award with Marana PD because he was able to get other police officers to work out with him and get all that going. So it's not clear that one can draw anything from the RoboCop moniker that he gave himself, but this is somebody who clearly loved fitness or loves fitness, and at this point Marana PD says there's no charges against him.
Okay, Miguel Marquez, thank you very much. Next here on CNN, a major security concern. Investigators are trying to figure out how the heck a man landed this gyrocopter near the White House. This is obviously not the same one. We've got this one for you live in Stevensville, Maryland. We'll talk to an expert about this kind of aircraft, and we'll ask him how it works and how that mailman, could have made it as far as he did through restricted airspace. You're watching CNN.
What do you do to find the right person?
Honestly, it's totally random through like a job or mutual friends, but those usually end pretty badly.
Have you ever tried Match?
Nope, I haven't tried Match.
Have you ever tried any other dating apps?
I did, but everyone who responded to me was, you know, just kind of going straight for hookups.
It seems like you need something between like just totally random happenstance and creepy hookups.
Yeah, that would be great.
Guess what that middle area is called?
Match?
Start for free today.
Wearing glasses with just any progressive lenses? See the difference with Verilux, the only progressive lens brand with lenses designed using wave technology. Enjoy smooth transitions and sharp vision. Never compromise. Ask your eye care professional for Verilux.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and we're happy to report that nearly 3 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. And for 5 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And this year, for the first time, they've also ranked us highest in the nation in mortgage servicing. If you're not familiar with HARP, it's a U.S. government program designed specifically for homeowners who have little or no equity. A great feature of the HARP program is that most HARP refinance loans do not require an appraisal, and there are fewer income verification requirements. That makes it simpler, easier, and even faster. And even if you've been denied for a HARP loan in the past, new guidelines mean that you now may be eligible. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. And we'll do all we can to help you save money on your mortgage. It's simple and easy. So find out if you're eligible to take advantage of today's incredibly low interest rates and start saving money every month on your mortgage. Call Quicken Loans today or go to quickenloans.com for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Tonight, Guilty. Anderson Cooper talks exclusively to the jurors in the Aaron Hernandez case. They deliberated for 7 days. No witnesses took the stand, and no murder weapon was found. What brought them to their decision? Anderson Cooper 360, tonight at 8 Eastern.
My name is Fernando Gonzalez. I'm the gas service supervisor here in Sonoma County. We moved up here 35 years ago, and we just love it up here. It's a fantastic place to live. Our function is customer support, making sure that our customers are safe, and that's the most important thing. We know we're part of a huge company, but Sonoma County is our home. Sonoma County is our PG&E. It makes me feel that what we're doing really means something in the community, and it's just a great, great feeling.
Monster Energy Supercross, featuring Toyota, the official vehicle of Supercross, this Saturday. For the first time ever at Levi's Stadium. Meet the riders and see the bikes up close at the Monster Energy Party in the Pits. Stop by any Lucky Supermarkets location and pick up a can of Monster Energy to recycle at the pit entrance for your free admission to the pit party. And right now, Lucky Supermarkets have special pricing on Monster Energy. Check out Lucky Supermarkets for the first time ever this Saturday at Levi's Stadium.
Just a short time ago, that Florida mailman who landed his gyrocopter on the west lawn of the Capitol, he was charged with unlawfully operating an aircraft and violating national defense airspace. This was the scene. This is the vine that has now looped over and over and over. Douglas Hughes is his name. He showed up in court in his Postal Service uniform, might I add, and he will be on home detention until his next court hearing, now set for May 8th. This case raises all kinds of questions about security and what is supposed to be America's most protected airspace, right there in front of the nation's capital. Joining me to learn a bit more about this aircraft is a man by the name of Tim Adelman, a gyrocopter pilot and founder of Auto Gyro USA. Tim, nice to see you, and thanks for bringing your toy for us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity and delighted to talk about gyroplanes.
Never thought in a million years I'd be talking about gyrocopters as much as I am, but hang tight, and then we'll get the show and tell. Here's my first question for you though, Tim. Is it's from what I understand, this guy yesterday flew. He took off in Maryland, flew for more than an hour in his aircraft into obviously very, very restricted airspace. How was he not detected sooner? How did he pull this off?
Certainly. As you described, the Washington, D.C. airspace is the most restricted airspace in the country. And he took off about 33 miles northwest of the city. But the way they detect aircraft is through the use of transponders, which give a radar beacon to the FAA air traffic controllers, as well as the material on the aircraft reflecting off of radar signals. So in his particular aircraft, he doesn't have a lot of material. It was a tubular frame and just himself, and that was it. So it didn't pick up on the radar. He was also flying really low and only going about 35 knots. So that's not something that would ordinarily be picked up on a radar system by air traffic control, whereas this aircraft has a lot more body signature.
Yeah, I have to say, yours looks a lot more fancy, for lack of a better word. Can you give me show and tell, Tim? Tell me how this thing works.
Absolutely. As you see, this has two seats. The one that was flown yesterday was what we call an ultralight, so it only weighed about less than 254 pounds, and it was not an FAA authorized or aircraft that had an airworthiness certificate. This particular aircraft, though, does have an airworthiness certificate. It's two seats. The pilot sits in the front, and I'll demonstrate for you. As you can see, pilot sits easily in the front of the airplane, and you can have a passenger in the rear seat. And we have a stick control here with all of our radio and avionics. Easily accessible.
Okay.
And as you can see on the aircraft has. Okay.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. Let me ask you, how high can you go and how fast can you go?
Sure, this aircraft can go over 10,000 feet. It cruises around 90 knots, so almost 100 miles an hour, and can go for 450 miles on one tank of gas.
Why would you use this as opposed to something larger? Why do people have these?
Yeah, right now this is the fastest growing segment of aviation in Europe, and we're just now seeing it in the U.S. It's a different type of flying. The aircraft itself are less expensive than a traditional fixed wing aircraft. They're also a lot of fun. It's like flying a helicopter, but not a helicopter. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay, and what's the farthest? Where's the farthest place you've gone? How long have you been in one of those in the air?
This particular aircraft, we've gone down to Florida. We've flown up to New York. We've been out to Wisconsin. Yes, it's been traveling quite a bit.
Oh my goodness. I guess my final question would be, we know that the man yesterday who landed at the Capitol apparently just had a lot of letters for him and had a message about campaign finance reform, and there was nothing really, nefarious per se, but I guess would that obviously would be a fear for anyone that somebody could be up to no good with something a little bit more dangerous than letters.
Absolutely. I mean, the aircraft do have the capability to carry lots of weight. That was definitely a concern, and that's why that airspace is really restricted. And I'm certain that people today are trying to find answers as to how we can detect these types of aircraft, the gyrocopters, the ultralights, for the future. Something like this we would hope would not happen. It's not the publicity you necessarily want for the gyroplane community.
Okay, I'm being told by my executive producer, Eric, I'm gonna throw you under the bus on this one. I have several people in the control room who would like to see it turn on. Can we fire this bad boy up, Tim Adelman? Can we see this go?
Absolutely.
Bye-bye. It is pretty loud.
See you later.
Okay, I'm going to let him go. Tim Adelman, thank you so much for the show and tell, I guess, and we're going to stay on it, and perhaps he'll take off. Is he going to take off? No. Okay, straight ahead. More on the breaking news. We told you about an American who had traveled to Syria, arrested on terror charges. We have an update for you on that. Also ahead, Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe joins me live with a special sneak preview of the incredibly important but very dirty work he's getting into tonight. Stay with me.
The Nazis destroyed my family. They took everything.
An unlikely pair.
We're taking the Austrian government to court.
Will change history in a movie critics are calling a triumph.
This is like a James Bond film, and you're Sean Connery.
Woman in Gold, rated PG-13.
Oh, this audit will take days. What a headache.
Actually, I don't have a headache anymore. Excedrin really does work fast.
In fact, for some, relief starts in just 15 minutes. Excedrin.
Wow, that was fast.
You're driving along, having a perfectly nice day, when out of nowhere a pickup truck slams into your brand new car. 1 second, it wasn't there, and the next second, boom, you had your first accident. Now you have to make your first claim. So you talk to your insurance company, and boom, you're blindsided for a second time. It won't give you enough money to replace your brand new car. Don't those people know you're already shaken up?
Liberty Mutual's new car replacement will pay for the entire value of your car, plus depreciation. Call 1-888-574-3356. And for drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch to Liberty Mutual Insurance and you could save up to $423. Call Liberty Mutual for a free quote today at 1-888-574-3356. See car insurance in a whole new light. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I gotta tell you, it bothered me a lot, having to go to the bathroom so much. That was before Urina Zinc, with the ingredients in the special ProFlow formula that promotes reduced urinary frequency and supports a healthy, normal prostate. Doctor recommended Urina Zinc.
Sunday night is smoking. A new movement is growing, and business is booming.
This is what happens when you legalize marijuana.
One night, one network, one groundbreaking event. Weed 3, followed by the series premiere of High Profits starting at 9.
RVs for sale by owners? Sequence has RVs for sale by owners?
Yep, I've got a big selection all for sale by owners.
A's, B's, C's, travel trailers? Sequence RV on Highway 101.
At the Gilroy Outlets.
Do you have jewelry you're not wearing? Turn it into cash at San Francisco Gold Buyer. Our experienced staff will assess your valuables using the latest scientific instruments to give you an accurate, honest value. San Francisco Gold Buyer also buys and sells coins, jewelry, and handbags, and much more. Ask about our collateral loans and estate liquidation services at our convenient West Portal location. Buy, sell, and get a loan at San Francisco Gold Buyer.
Honey, do this and do that. Let's skip the do-do list and go RVing this weekend. We can find lots to do.
Trailers to motorhomes. Seagram's RV has the biggest selection. Seagram's RV at the Gilroy Outlets.
Anderson Cooper 360. Tonight at 8 Eastern on CNN.
Okay, one of my favorite people, Mike Rowe, made his name by taking on some of life's dirtiest jobs. And on this week's episode of Somebody's Gotta Do It, he meets his match, a man whose mission is to clean up America's rivers and lakes. So who is actually responsible for picking up all that stuff, all that gunk, the trash that washes ashore? Watch.
Well, 80,000 volunteers since 1998. That's who. But of course, they wouldn't be here if Chad weren't so freaking inspirational.
Does that make you feel good?
What's that?
I mean, just looking at a bunch of people.
Oh, it's great, man.
They're all
it's
here
like the
because of you.
best. Well, honestly, like, I think of cops and judges and stuff. I kind of feel like they see some of America's worst.
Yeah.
And I feel like I see, like, a lot of America's best, you know? All right, we can get this now.
All right.
Nice.
So far, the jolliest garbage men on planet Earth have gathered an astonishing amount of assorted detritus humans have dumped into this river.
This is the fun part.
I'm not sure how I assumed this particular position.
However, we're still being held hostage by an extreme bloody do-gooder on a quixotic mission.
Are we gonna meet our quota today?
No.
What's the quota?
More.
I love that answer. More. Here he is, Mike Rowe. Mike, I'm so disappointed you're not sitting next to me, but I'm so thrilled just to have you on the show. How are you, my friend?
I feel like I'm there, Brooke. I feel like I'm right there with you.
The spirit is here. Somebody was just tweeting me asking if you were going to be singing me an aria again. We'll leave that for the next time we meet in person. Let's talk about the show. I mean, I've seen river cleanups where people find like cars and refrigerators and all kinds of crazy stuff in there. Tell me about your experience.
Well, in a way, you know, I think we were on the Ohio River. Chad got his start on the Mississippi, and there's no river he won't tend to. He's sort of the self-appointed custodian of America's waterways. And I called him good-naturedly a bloody do-gooder, and that's exactly what he is. He is totally on a mission. He has been for decades. He loves the Mississippi, and he hates the fact that people are pigs, so he's dedicated their life to pulling our mess out of it. He's good at it. He inspires people, and I've tried to get him on TV now for the last 10 years, so it's kind of a cool thing. Our paths finally came together tonight. 10
years. And so what do they do with all the stuff?
Well, basically what Chad did, aside from get really annoyed at the state of the planet, was he procured a barge, a big old barge, a garbage barge, and he got some of his friends on it. And they just started going up and down the river with cranes and winches, hauling all this stuff out. From there, it goes on another barge, and that barge takes it to landfills all over the place. But it's a full-time, 24/7, never-ending job. And the crazy thing is, too, like he's got all these volunteers on the barge. I didn't know this, but something like 9 couples have actually hooked up and gotten married. It's part
when I think about love, I think of, you know, muck and mud and rivers, Micro, obviously.
Well, look, if you want to keep it dirty, there's no better place right now than the Mississippi and Chad's garbage barge. But they're just a great bunch of people who are doing something they want to do because they dig it.
That's awesome. Ice farming, what is that?
So we were in Madison or outside of Madison, and we saw a sign that said Art Below Zero. Sort of Forrest Gumped our way in there and found a couple named Max and Jeannie. And they're happily married, which is good because they're always holding ice picks and chainsaws, carving these amazing bits of art for private installations, public installations. It's basic ice sculpture on steroids because deep down these people are artists and they're good at it. And they gave me a saw and they let me make stuff, which is shocking.
Wait, why do I feel like I've seen an ice sculpture of you? Did you have one of those at that shindig we threw for you?
Well, that's part of why this happened. CNN threw me a very nice party back in season 1, and while I was there, somebody with a chainsaw carved my face out of a block of ice, and I said, you know something, that's weird enough to want to try to do in person one day, so we did it.
That's awesome. Hey, can I ask you about your parents? I remember when you were here last time. I know your parents are CNN fans, and obviously they're Micro fans as well. But everyone is talking about these promos, and they're starring Mom and Dad. Well, take a look.
Michael, you told me your new show wasn't as dangerous as your old show.
It's not. It's totally different.
I saw you fighting a bull.
It was a nice bull.
I've got a minute with you. Does Mama Ro have an agent yet? Because she's kind of awesome.
There's talk of representation. I won't lie to you. Mom and Dad are competitive in this regard, so they're talking to various representatives. But we'll see what happens. People keep asking me who wrote those things, and I swear the truth is nobody wrote them. These are real conversations I've had with my parents over the last decade. We just reenacted them, and now they're insufferable.
Are you kidding me? You just let the cameras roll, and that was the magic, that was the je ne sais quoi, that was your mother and father?
Well, we basically sat down, and I said, Dad, you remember a couple of weeks ago when you got all upset because I told you that you saw the promo and you turned the show on, but there was breaking news and it wasn't on? He said, yes, I remember that. I was very angry. I said, okay, channel that. Mom, you remember how upset you were when you saw me sitting on the bull and you freaked out? Oh, yes, that was very ill-advised. Channel that. And then we just started talking.
Tell your parents I say hi, and I cannot wait to watch more Micro on CNN. Thank you so much for joining me. And everyone, set the DVR. Watch it live. Watch it multiple times. Somebody's got to do it tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern and Pacific here on CNN. Micro, thank you, and thank you for being with me. I'm Brooke Baldwin. See you back here at 10 o'clock Eastern. I'm back in for CNN Tonight. The Lead with Jake Tapper starts right now.
That Florida man with the gyrocopter was just charged. But more importantly, did he just give people looking to attack the Capitol a blueprint for an easy way to do it? I'm Jake Tapper. This is The Lead. The national lead. He flew undetected, undeterred through the most restricted airspace in the world, quote unquote, before setting his aircraft down on the Capitol lawn. But instead of protest letters, what if he'd intended to deliver a dirty bomb? The politics lead, Secretary Hillary Clinton, and